always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
All right, live from the shadow of Detroit, taking off another brand new day here on the Steve Gruber Show from the foxhole of freedom, which always makes me ask, who do you want in your foxhole? It's never been more important than it is today, as every day gets a little dicier. A lot of work to do here, so let's get right to it. Three big things this hour. Number one, shaping up for a good day on Wall Street. Dow futures showing a sharp uptick after some bad days. As for the crypto crowd, well, that's on the rise too. Number two, in Texas, Governor Abbott is directing the state police to investigate the Muslim Brotherhood, while others, including myself, think the group should be considered for designation as a terrorist organization. That's apparently coming as early as today. And number three, by now you've all heard that Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning her seat in Congress, a decision she says will make her last day January the 5th, 2026. It comes at a time when both parties are enduring infighting and the Uniparty is desperately trying to maintain control of money and power in this country. For many of us, this is a very disappointing development. It's disappointing. MTG was among the loudest and staunchest supporters of the president, but recent public disagreements over things like the Epstein files have caused a fissure that's not repairable, apparently. President Trump came out in his signature way, revoking his endorsement and labeling the three-term congresswoman as a traitor. I'm watching this, and all I can think is, how will this hit the midterms? How will the impact come down in the midterm elections? This kind of distraction, this kind of sideshow just isn't good for anyone. I think it slows down what the administration must be laser focused on, and that's the economy and making it work for everyone, which they're working on. And they're working on health care. We could have a plan for that as soon as today as well. I'll also say this. I find it irritating when members of Congress resign in the middle of their term. I do. After all, they campaigned for the job. You campaigned for the job. And then decide you're not going to finish what you started. I mean, I can get not running for another term, okay, but quitting in the middle of it? After you promised your voters you would do these things? Come on. If you have a medical issue or a family emergency, I can accept that. But leaving to take a lucrative job like Mark Green of Tennessee did, or just being disgusted by how ugly politics can be, well, I'm sorry, neither of those pass muster with me. I think if you campaign for the job, you should do the job. And speaking of taking a lucrative job, many do wonder where MTG will end up, as if she will soon appear on TV as a pundit and a more vocal opponent of the president. I guess we'll see how that turns out, but nobody would be surprised. Now, I listened to her entire resignation comments, just over 10 minutes. She made some points in her announcement that I do, in fact, agree with, even if I think resigning is the wrong move, which I do think resigning was the wrong move. But here's part of what she said.
Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda spokespersons and consultants on TV and paid shills on social media obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. Because they know how much credit card debt they have, they know how much their bills have gone up over the past 5 years, they actually do their own grocery shopping and know food costs too much. Their rent has increasingly gone up and up. They have been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house. They have been laid off after being forced to train their Visa holding replacement. The college degree they were told to earn only left them in debt with no big six-figure salary. They see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets. They can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid.
And they just aren't stupid. Well, the health care issue, the president says there could be a plan put together as soon as today. Now, we were told December, but we might start to see some sneak previews. We'll see how that plays out, okay? So that is important. Paying ordinary bills and making sure you have a chance in this world, and making sure that those that are between 18 and 30 don't feel completely left out of the conversation, struggling just to survive, struggling just to keep their head above water. On the topic of running for president, by the way, has been rumored. MTG promptly shot that down, ridiculed those making such comments or reporting on it. On another X post, she wrote this in part: The political industrial complex has destroyed our country and will never allow someone like me or you to rise to power and actually solve the crisis that plague all of us. That would go against its business model. I believe that to be true. They want power. They don't care about people like you or I. And look, I have said this for years. Possibly the best person to be the next president of the United States could be some farmer in Iowa. But you'll never know that. Or some businessman in Nevada. Or some guy working hard in Pennsylvania. You'll never know that because they'll never get a shot. It takes millions of dollars, tremendous connections, big donors, huge donors. And one last thing on this topic from MTG and what she thinks is most important. Listen.
America first should mean America first and only Americans first, with no other foreign country ever being attached to America first in our halls of government.
And I agree with that. I just don't agree with resigning midterm. I think that's the wrong move. Things get tough and you get going. No, sorry, I can't agree with that part. I agree with a lot of the things she said about the cost of everything and ordinary Americans being ignored and the debt continuing to rise and big money interests in the form of lobbyists walking the halls of Congress, but I cannot get behind the resignation part of it. President Trump on Saturday seemed to soften his tone a bit by saying he hopes that MTG will return to politics someday, though he says that'll be a hard road if she does. I agree. Here's what he said.
Are you willing to forgive Congresswoman Taylor Greene?
Forgive for what? No, I just disagreed with her philosophy. She started backing perhaps the worst Republican congressman in our history, just stupid person named Massey. And I said, go your own way. And once I left her, she resigned because she would never have survived a primary. But I think she's a nice person.
Now, according to sources here, MTG was already facing a tough battle, and internal polling numbers apparently showed her as much as 25 points underwater in a primary challenge, which would make it nearly impossible to win. Okay, so you just finish out your term. I guess we'll never know on that point. When we come back, we're going to shift to a different big controversy that's going on, and that's the Democrats suggesting that active military members should ignore lawful orders from the president. They struggled to explain that over the weekend. We're going to get to all of that in the next part of the program here. But first, I want to tell you this part of the program is brought to you by Victory Nutrition International. If you're looking for a smarter way to feel stronger, sharper, and more energized every day, meet VNI. It's a nutrition company born from one man's refusal to settle for shortcuts. Founder Bill Downs spent decades in the raw ingredient business. He got frustrated when he saw major companies watering down formulas and releasing supplements your body can't really use. That's why VNI created its proprietary proteasome delivery technology. So the vitamins, minerals, and botanicals you take actually get in and do the work you need. Their mission, nutrition that gets in. From foundational health to energy and recovery, VNI is about helping you live sharper, longer, and stronger. The Black Friday sale is coming up. You can order now through December 1. Get 30% off everything. 30% off everything plus free shipping here in the United States. Just go to vni.life/Gruber to claim the deal. It is the vitamins we take every day. Let your body finally get the nutrition you paid for. Check out VNI today. It's vni.life/Gruber. 30% off Black Friday deal. I'll be right back. All right, like I said, I want to shift gears now into the bigger controversy of the past week. That, of course, 6 Democrats calling for those serving in the military to ignore orders from the commander-in-chief, undermining the ability to do the job. It was an outrageous video that included Senators Alyssa Slotkin and Mark Kelly, plus 4 members of Congress, all of whom had previous service in the military or the Intelligence Committee and community. Makes the video even more outrageous. Senator Slotkin, completely unable to explain or defend the idea of illegal orders and call for those in the military to ignore those orders. She floundered when asked about it. A complete bomb on Sunday morning television. Here it is.
It does imply that the president is having illegal orders, which you have not seen.
I think for us, it was just a statement widely, right? We say very quickly and to all the folks who come to us, this is the process. Go to your JAG officer, ask them for explanation, for top cover, for their view on things. We do that on a case-by-case basis, but we wanted to speak directly to the volumes of people who had come to us on this.
And it is very clear that no one should follow an illegal order, but it's very murky when you look at what is an illegal order. And if you go into morally, ethically, that's a pretty tough thing to look at and say, how do I navigate this?
Look, if you're going back to Nuremberg, right, that, well, they told me to do it, that's why I murdered people, is not an excuse. If you look at popular culture, there's you watch, A Few Good Men, we have plenty of examples since World War II in Vietnam where people were told to follow illegal orders and they did it and they were prosecuted for it. So the best thing for people to do is go to their JAG officer, their local law enforcement or a legal officer in their unit and ask for some explanation, ask for help, and that's what we've been advising people to do.
That's not what you advise people to do. You advise people to ignore orders from the commander-in-chief. Let me tell you exactly where that falls. It falls under 18 U.S.C. 2387. Titled Activities Affecting Armed Forces Generally. Here's the current full text of the statute as it appears in the United States Code with no substantial amendment since it was enacted in its present form. Listen to this. Whoever with intent to interfere with, impair, or influence the loyalty, morale, or discipline of the military or naval force of the United States, number 1, advises, like they did, counsels, like they did, urges, like they did, or in any manner causes, attempts to cause, or attempts to procure insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty by any member of the military or naval forces of the United States, or distributes or attempts to distribute to any member of the military or naval force of the United States any written or printed matter which advises, counsels, or urges insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty by any member of the military or naval force of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for no more than 10 years or both, and shall be ineligible for employment by the United States or any department or agency thereof for 5 years next following the conviction. And for the purpose of this section, military and naval force of the United States includes the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine, Coast Guard, National Guard, Space Force, any of them. If you advise, counsel, urge, or in any manner attempt to cause or attempt to procure insubordination, by definition, that's what the video was. You saw it, I saw it, we saw it. Don't give up the ship. Well, Joey Jones is among those that's on fire and angry about the video by Democrats calling on the military to ignore lawful orders. Here he is.
Listen, when it comes to the veterans in that video, even Jason Crow, I don't think any of them are real pipe hitters. I mean, guys and gals that go to war and see their friends die and understand it, it's hard for me to believe. I know Jason Crow was a Ranger and he deployed, and I don't know what his military background is, but maybe he was just half asleep through all that. Maybe he had some sort of epiphany that changed his character. But the real pipe hitters out there understand what they were doing in that video, then there's no way in hell somebody like me or any of my peers would do something like that. I mean, you're talking about a group of people who, listen, they say that there's people in the Pentagon that are concerned about these orders. You know who those people are? They're the ones that came in on the DEI train that are concerned about their job. When it comes to the men and women that are fighting wars, they're concerned about having the proper funding, the proper support, and leaders that will have their backs when things go awry. And I think they've seen that's what's happening right now in the military.
Yeah. You cannot legally push for insubordination. You cannot advocate for it. You cannot push for it. You cannot, urge, advise, counsel. The words are clear here. And I think an investigation is incredibly important of all this. Can you imagine if Republicans, during the time that Barack Obama dropped more than 90,000 bombs on too many countries to remember around the world during his presidency, if the Republicans had come out and said, look, don't give up the ship, don't follow illegal orders. Can you imagine what would have happened? Heads would have exploded on LSD and everywhere else. Anyhow, when was the last time you woke up feeling truly energized? I did today. I did. That's exactly what Longevity Wellness is all about. Their nutritional shake mix powered by protein, collagen, omega-3s, even bovine colostrum to support your gut, joints, and brain. No gimmicks, just clean science-backed ingredients that help you feel stronger every single day. And now through Wednesday, you can get it for 35% off. Start your mornings with Longevity. You're going to love this stuff. Visit longevitywellness.co. longevitywellness.co. Use the promo code Gruber35. You'll save 35% right now. It's Black Friday time around here, folks. Thanksgiving week. So we're going to have a lot of Black Friday sales for you. Get you encouraged to use and promote and support the partners we have here. That's how we do it every day. We need your help. Good Americans, and fighting for this country takes support from not just you, but from our sponsors. And so I appreciate when you support the people that support these networks that are out here fighting for you every single day. Coming up, state-sanctioned kidnapping in America. That's a brand new documentary. Maureen Steele is the co-founder of American Made Foundation, American Made Action. She'll tell us what this is all about coming up on The Steve Gruber Show. Well, if you've looked at the price of a new car lately, this will come as no surprise to you. It's absolutely shocking, the price of new cars. They've soared to historic highs now. Buyers facing mounting sticker shock. The average monthly car payment, what do you think it is?
$880.
You're not too far off, actually. It's $766, Anthony. That's the average, which means what you just said is well within the range because it's an average, which means a lot of the prices are higher than $766 a month. Good Lord. Car prices trending up. The average cost of a new car is at an all-time high, approaching the $50,000 mark for the first time. The average transaction price for a new vehicle in October, $49,105, according to data from Edmunds. That represents a year-over-year increase of 3.1%. I don't think anyone was ever expecting the number to go down. It coincided with a high share of EVs being sold, so naturally EVs being more expensive, it kind of pushed us over the edge. Strip all that away, there's virtually no vehicle you can buy today that is cheaper than it was from last year, 2 years ago, or 5 years ago. The average age of trade-in toward a new car is like 5.5 to 6 years now. People who bought in 2020 and 2019, and especially for 2019 prices, yeah, they're in for sticker shock, which is, and I bought a vehicle in 22. Right? And I was shocked then. We were out looking at the price of just new trucks. Not over the top, just new trucks. Good Lord. Some of the trucks now, with their fancy packaging and four-wheel drive and off-road this and that and everything else, are $100,000. $100,000 for a pickup truck. You better have massaging seats for that. Better give me a massage on the buttocks. Buttocks. Can I say that on the radio? Brock?
You can say it twice.
I can say it twice. But Brock won't even bleep me out for buttocks. Reminds me of Forrest Gump. Anyhow, yeah, new car prices. Good Lord, what a remarkable thing. When we come back, we're going to talk about that state-sanctioned kidnapping in America. This is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, this next conversation is going to be a bit shocking, to say the least. It is state overreach at its worst. I don't know how else you would describe it. State overreach at its worst. States coming in and taking children away for not vaccinating. The children not being vaccinated by their parents, they call that child abuse in Massachusetts, apparently. That's one example. Let's get to it. Maureen Steele is the co-founder of American Made Foundation, American Made Action, and the executive producer of Taken, state-sanctioned kidnapping in America. Let's talk about it. Maureen, welcome to the program.
Hi, Steve. Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
I mean, I've read these case studies that you sent over and studied your background here. To me, it's absolutely stunning. First, the family here, the Rivera case, the kids were not vaccinated because the parents said, we don't want to give the kids all these vaccinations that are, massive amounts. And they were found to be abusing their kids, at least originally. Tell me this story so people understand exactly what we're dealing with.
Yeah, so the Rivera family is the center of Taken State-Sanctioned Kidnapping, our documentary. It was astonishing. Steve, it wasn't even a vaccine. It was a vitamin K shot that triggered this whole nightmare for this family. It's been 10 months now. They're still not reunited. So they had taken their youngest child. This is a family with 5 children. Both parents had at-home businesses. They homeschooled their children. The father, Izzy, took the baby, 9 months old at the time, for a well child visit to get weighed and all of that. The pediatrician, Dr. Gohafar, said the child hasn't had its vitamin K shot yet. And that's given at birth, and immediately at birth. They say, if there's a blood disorder, there's a 1 in a million chance of that, it prevents the child from bleeding out. Obviously, at 9 months old, we know the child doesn't have a bleeding disorder. The parents refused it at birth. The father refused it again. We don't need it. And the doctor threatened them that if you don't get this shot right now, I will be filing a 51A report with CPS here in Massachusetts for neglect. And he made good on that threat. He did. And again, parents have the right to direct their child's health care. If the parents refuse
Apparently
that vitamin
not.
K shot, it's totally within their right. And CPS opened up a case on that, and they chased them to Texas. This is just an unbelievable. It's one of the most unreal cases I've uncovered, but because at this point,
so we're clear on that. The family moved to Texas. And then Texas authorities took the children into custody, flew them back to Massachusetts, where they were forcefully vaccinated, right?
Yeah, indeed they were.
And the family is still not together. Meanwhile, the CPS, the Child Protective Services industry, which it really is, because every time a kid is taken into custody, there's $400,000 a day, give or take. That's a money-making machine for some, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is. This is an $80 billion a year industry by most estimates. So it's not just CPS, it's all the parasitic agencies that work around them, where parents are ordered into anger management classes or parenting classes that don't need that. These majority of 80% of these claims that go into CPS, this mandatory reporting, are completely unfounded and unsubstantiated. Yet it doesn't stop CPS from continuing their investigations and the destruction of the American family. So this is authoritarianism, dressed up as child welfare. That's all it is. And, the trauma on these families lasts a lifetime. You never get over it. It takes approximately, at minimum, 15 months to get your children back while they're out of your home. Even when they can't find anything and you're squeaky clean, you still lose your children for 15 months minimum.
Unbelievable. All right, let's go to this next case, the Boyce family. They're struggling with an 8-year-old with cancer. Lay this case out for us.
Oh, this is a hard one, Steve. This is Sean and Shelley Boyce. They have 4 children. They live on an organic farm in North Carolina. Their son, at 6 years old, Judah, got diagnosed with leukemia. And when your child gets diagnosed with any cancer, people need to understand that the state tells you right away, you will follow this protocol, this cancer protocol, or we will take your child and put him in foster care. It's important to know that this family did every protocol. It's a 2.5-year protocol for children with cancer. Judah is 2 years into it. He was going to a St. Jude's affiliate hospital, Hemby Children's Hospital in Denver, North Carolina. And the parents followed everything to the letter. 2 years in last January, they started threatening the family that the child looked too healthy, that his blood count was too high. And typically what happens with children with cancer, it's the chemo that kills people, not before the cancer does. But the parents hired a functional medicine specialist who specializes in helping children thrive through cancer using hyperbaric chambers and different modalities to keep them strong and to help them metabolize the chemo faster. So the hospital started threatening the family. They made good on it on October 17th. They referred the family over to CPS for an investigation and lied in the paperwork, saying that this child had received no chemo at all. When after 2 years of going, every month it was intravenous chemo the hospital administered. And then every 2 weeks for the first year, he was tested to test the levels of chemo in his body.
Sure.
And then every month after that, he has 5 months
And he
left
was improving.
in his protocol.
He was
And a
improving.
lawyer wrote to
Yeah.
the hospital, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, I said he was improving and doing well. He didn't look sick enough, apparently.
Exactly. He wasn't dying fast enough for St. Jude's affiliate. And so it's tragic. And the school got in on it as well, said that he had unexcused absences, which was a lie. We had the doctor's notes showing that indeed the child was excused. There was a measles outbreak. He has a compromised immune system. He's on chemotherapy. So, but CPS is still investigating this beautiful family. And these aren't good parents. These are exceptional parents. They were spending $5,000 a month on different modalities with this functional medicine specialist to keep their child as healthy as possible through cancer and through chemo.
It's shocking. All right, so both these cases still up in the air, and these are just examples of what's going on. These are just the cases we've heard about. It's all in the documentary Taken, State-Sanctioned Kidnapping. Where can people see this? It's a stunning story. 400,000. They're making money off this. CPS in every state, every single state. You've got caseworkers that are overloaded or don't care. Both, and some do it. I'm not going to rip out caseworkers. I mean, I think these are probably compassionate people. But when you've got a caseload that's this deep, you got to move fast. You spend a few minutes on each one. Yeah, this one goes there. This one goes. I mean, it's human nature. You can only do so much. Where can people see this documentary?
Sure, you can go to AmericanMadeFoundation.org and you can download the movie there. It's right on your landing page. It's an important movie for people to see so they understand. No one is immune from this. And CPS has no oversight. They operate in the dark. It's under, they're minors, so everything is hidden. And whenever you have an agency that has that kind of power, it's ripe for corruption. There's money on these kids' heads now with the adoptions.
And here's the other thing, Maureen. Here's the other thing. If you don't have the financial wherewithal to hire, attorneys and protect yourself and protect your family, you're up against it. All right, AmericanMadeFoundation.org. Right? AmericanMadeFoundation.org. Go watch this movie, Taken, State-Sanctioned Kidnapping. Maureen, thank you for sharing this story. We'll have you back with some updates in the future.
Sounds great, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You ever heard anything so shocking in your life? They come and take kids away from good parents because the second kid didn't look sick enough? We're going to talk about your health again after the break here on the Steve Gruber Show. Dr. James Thorpe joining me. Don't go anywhere. All right, we're going to stay on this healthcare theme for a moment with Dr. James Thorpe from the Wellness Company joining me now. He is the Chief of Maternal and Prenatal Care at the Wellness Company. Doctor, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me back again, Steve.
All right, so we got some news here from the CDC. It appears the CDC is changing information on its website in regards to autism and vaccines. Why do you think this is? Have something to do with the McCullough Foundation work, the groundbreaking work on this issue?
100%. And, what it shows is how impotent and incompetent the government is. I always believe that Dr. McCullough, the most experienced published cardiologist in the world, with some strong views like you and I on the vaccine sham, would be placed in a major cabinet position in the government. But how ironic, God knew better, didn't get that position, but he was the one in the McCullough Foundation that made the greatest advancement in the history of this vaccine. Through the McCullough Foundation, through his private work. So ultimately, he's had all the influence. Bobby Kennedy appears neutralized, neuterized, and captured. Jay Bhattacharya, FDA Commissioner Marty McCreary, they've all done jack squat. What was done by the McCullough Foundation with this massive meta-analysis? 136 studies, and the meta-analysis showed clearly 109 studies, a clear link to autism, and the FDA, CDC, HHS could no longer lie.
So but in fairness, you think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's been openly opposed to vaccinations and talked about the connection to autism and other detrimental outcomes, I mean, he certainly would support this. It changes a huge change in guidance, right? But you think he didn't do anything?
He's neutralized. He's captured.
What does that mean?
To the president.
Well, sure, but why? But okay, but why? But this is what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has fought for years. Captured how? I guess
he's captured by pressure and by Susan Wiles and many others, and he's vocalized this to people. He has to answer to the president. He could have come in, signed a bill, taken the lethal mRNA injections off the market immediately. It's been almost a year, Steve. He hasn't done that.
Peter McCullough posting on X, the CDC responds to the McCullough Foundation report with capitulation. Conclusive publication on determinants of autism could not be ignored even by the CDC, he writes in part. It must change the guidance that reflects the growing power and influence of the medical freedom movement and the real science they've been doing, doesn't it?
Yeah. What it tells us is that the whole government is captured and corrupt. And, it could be exemplified more beautifully by the individual that you were interviewing before me. The government in every facet appears to be neutralized by corruption and by evildoers.
Is this why companies like the Wellness Company, in your opinion, are so important to the future of healthcare in this country, doing the independent work, comparing whatever you said, 109 studies, I think you said, and comparing them and going through them and doing the analysis and doing the deep dive and making sure people have the information they need? How important is this freedom of research?
It's very important, and that's what I focused on. And the McCullough Foundation is unbelievable. I too have published. I'm very close to the McCullough Foundation, but I'm not part of it. But I've published extensively with Peter McCullough and some other individuals on the McCullough Foundation. I mean, groundbreaking work in pregnancy and in non-pregnant individuals. And it's research like ours, and also your constant reporting that is making a huge difference. It's not insiders. They're neutralized, captured, and threatened. It's the outsiders that are outspoken, and it's the independent journalists, tremendous journalists from Real American Voice like Steve Gruber and others.
No, I appreciate that, Doctor. I do. Let's shift gears just a little bit here. Tell us about some of the newest products coming out of the wellness company where you and Dr. Peter McCullough are colleagues, and the medical experts that are there, in particular, TheraBlue. What is TheraBlue?
TheraBlue is an incredible product. It is non-prescription, so you can order it yourself without a consultation, and I use it every day. You know
what does it do?
It relieves pain and chronic pain. Now, it's not going to take away severe chronic pain, but it's going to take the edge off it. But in minor chronic afflicted pains, knee pain, lower back pain, elbow pain, you rub it on and you get some immediate temporary relief. And I've used it, and so have my colleagues, and everybody.
And so have I. And so have I, Doctor. I've used it as well. It works well for me. I've had like a muscle pull in my leg after going to the gym, so it's been working quite well for me. By the way, twc.health/Gruber, you can get TheraBlue. You can get these great emergency kits, the gold standard on the market. You never have to wonder where those antibiotics or antivirals or antiparasitics are, plus painkillers and other things as well, all here for you. That's why it's so important. Go ahead, check that out, twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber. Let's see here. Make sure that you get in there for the Black Friday as well. Black Friday specials. We're going to tell you about those in just a moment. Doctor, greatly appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
All right, I'll have the TWC Black Friday special for you right after the break. All right, the Wellness Company. Like I said, one big annual sale just in time to fulfill your New Year's resolutions. Whether you need a kickstart or you want to just stock up on innovative nutraceutical blends that help you stay in optimal health, the Wellness Company has everything to keep you out of urgent care and feeling limitless in 2026. Something to make you feel good about that. The Black Friday deals run from November 27th to November 30th. 25% off all of those things. Recharge, RX scripts, ivermectin, even peptide products like Smile. Save 20% off all emergency kits like I just mentioned. Stay fully prepped, and 20% off One Wellness memberships to offset overpriced health insurance. All of the well care you need digitally ordered and delivered to your doorstep. This is the best time of the year to stock up on your favorite products and the perfect chance to grab some holiday gifts for family members and friends. The sale is only 4 short days, so take advantage and stock up. TWC.health/Gruber. Enjoy amazing Black Friday savings. Discounts applied at checkout. That's TWC.health/Gruber, up to 25% off the entire site. You can't put a price on your health. That's for sure. And let's see, one more Black Friday sale while we're here. Why not? Patriots Relief. Buy one, get one tincture. Buy one, get one of equal or lesser value, of course. Promo code Gruber2 there. Just put any 2 bottles of tincture in your shopping cart and add the promo code Gruber2. You'll get 100% off the second bottle. You can mix and match, receive the lowest price bottle for free, and you can put 2 of the same together. Buy one, get one. PatriotsRelief.com. All great people. By the way, the UN climate talk was a disaster. Yeah, they went down to Brazil, spent piles of money, bulldozed the rainforest, and then got no deal at all. America didn't show up. We said, we're not interested in that nonsense anymore, as we should not be. The Green New Deal is a terrible deal for Americans, I can tell you that, and we walked out of it. And now they're COP30. They're still trying to push us to get rid of fossil fuels. What we're doing in America is we're stopping the sale of EVs for the most part. People aren't buying them. Go figure. A lot to talk about in the next hour as well. We have a woman that's going to warn us that we're walking into a Democrat-laid trap when it comes to health care. I believe that's true. We'll talk about it straight ahead. something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And fighting for you for the foxhole of freedom, we light the fuse in another big hour here at the Steve Gruber Show. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your support. Truly, we do. There's a lot to fight for right now. Midterm's not too far away and a lot of work to do. So let's get right to it. Here are three big things you need to know. Number one, a new feature on X has people screaming about where influencer accounts are actually coming from, including some big MAGA accounts that we now know were based in the Middle East and Asia. Caught ya. Number two, where are the big connections of President Trump in the Epstein files? We yet to see anything that the Democrats kept claiming were in there. I'm not surprised at all, are you? No. And number three, it's Thanksgiving this week. Then, of course, right into Black Friday. Then, of course, the heart of the Christmas shopping season. We should talk about the economy and what Anthony's buying me for Christmas. These are important topics. A lot of questions about affordability. And you can spare no expense, Anthony. It'll be fine, whatever you could decide to give me, all right? The markets have been volatile, to say the least. People are concerned. Let's see. As I was telling you here earlier, the markets, the futures, looking pretty good as we head into a new trading day shortly. Let's see here. The market futures say that we're going to be up a little bit. Was a lot more, but up a little bit. We're still at 46,400. I mean, things aren't too bad. The S&P will be up a little bit. NASDAQ will be up pretty decent, actually, a couple hundred points. So that's all good news. But the volatility of the markets have people concerned. The administration says, don't worry. They've got this. Say they're focused on the biggest word right now, which, of course, is affordability. Scott Besson just hammered Kirsten Walker on inflation on NBC. Here's what he said.
The one thing that we're not going to do is do what the Biden administration did and tell the American people they don't know how they feel. They are traumatized, and over the Biden inflation, we have slowed inflation, and we are working very hard to bring it down. Kristen, I can tell you that the Council on Economic Advisors has a study. You know the best way to bring your inflation rate down? Move from a blue state to a red state. Blue state inflation is 0.5% higher, and that is because they don't deregulate, they keep prices up, energy is higher.
Yeah. You've got to look at the price of it. And by the way, when you look at the price of oil, oil continues to be a great bargain. West Texas Intermediate's all the way down to $57.95. Brent crude, the standard, $62.45. That's about $3 or $4 less per barrel than it was a week ago. Energy prices are in good shape, which means inflation over time will come down. Does it help you today? Probably not. Does the price of groceries, does it go down? Probably not. But look, we had a spike of inflation of over 9% in the middle of the Biden administration. Over 9%. Now, Secretary Besson also says that if Democrats shut down the government again, it's got to be the end of the filibuster. Here's more of that interview.
That's the point of my editorial, is to put the Senate on notice that the Democrats kept the government shut down, and Ezra Klein in the New York Times took the mask off. He said this wasn't about health care. This was about stopping totalitarianism. The Democrats haven't been able to stop President Trump in the courts. They haven't been able to stop him in the media, so they had to harm the American people. 1.5% hit to GDP, $11 billion permanent hit. They don't care. So I believe that Senate Democrats, if Senate Democrats close the government again, that Senate Republicans should immediately abrogate the filibuster. You should ask Senator Klobuchar whether she will adhere to the filibuster and whether she will close the government again.
Just yes or no, though. Do you acknowledge at this point you don't have the votes right now to do that?
We will see. Can have them on January 3rd when we see this bad Democratic behavior.
All right, Secretary.
Bad Democratic behavior. We'll see. I think it'd be pretty important to have that happen. I mentioned the Epstein files here earlier. I'm going to shift gears on you a little bit. Big push to get the Epstein files released. Larry Summers, the former Secretary of the Treasury during the Clinton years, he was outed. Other Democrats, like Hakeem Jeffries, were found to have taken a pile of money from Epstein for their election efforts back in the last few years. No ties to Donald Trump. That's why they've shifted again. Don't give up the ship. And other such nonsense. Stephen A. Smith, who I find interesting. I do find him interesting, and he gets fired up. He lays out the truth on why Trump signed the deal to release the Epstein files. Here's his theory on it. I think it's a pretty good one. Go.
He did something that I didn't see coming. He said, to hell with it, open the files. I'll sign to open the files. No problem. And the first words that came to my mind was, uh-oh. Because Donald Trump is not going to do that if it's going to be something that significantly hurts Donald Trump. He's going to do it if, dare I say, he's got something on other people. Because that is who we know him to be, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. There's no way around this. And sure enough, one of the first names that came out was Larry Summers, who worked as the Treasury Secretary under the Clinton administration, who worked on economic policies for Barack Obama, who was religiously associated with the left.
Yeah, there you have it. Where's the information on Trump? Where's all the dirty dealings and the associations with Epstein? And, oh, you know, Epstein went to Thanksgiving with Trump in 2017. No, he didn't. The nonsense that circulates on social media is really quite something. Here's my number one use for AI now. My number one use for AI, I'll just take a post and say, is this true? Most times it's false. Not every now and then it's, well, you know, mixed results, or it's not clear, or this is technically true, but, right? I do that all the time. Now, the stuff you see on social media should be disregarded in large part. It's garbage. If 1 thing in 10 that you read on social media is true, you're having a pretty good day. And you have to wonder, are there things in there that Trump was aware of because the Republicans have been rifling through these files going, oh, look what we got here. Look, and then they'll maybe drop those bombs from time to time on the way to midterm election day 2026, maybe. But again, the linchpin of the 2026 midterms will be, can people afford a mortgage? Can people get a used car? Can they pay their groceries? And what about health care? Now, the president promising they're going to have a health care deal in front of the American people in the very near future. John Thune, the Republican leader of the Senate, the majority leader, said there'll be a plan for everyone to look at coming out next month in December. I hope that's true, because Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is a failure. We need to do better for people. And if it's sending money directly to consumers to choose their own insurance, well, let's go that way. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, the Affordable Care Act, nice euphemism, by the way. The Affordable Care Act, it was not affordable, it did not deal with care, but it was an act. The whole thing was an act designed to fail and then put Republicans on their heels, which is exactly what has happened. Republicans now being blamed for something they didn't vote for, had nothing to do with, in fact. Not a single Republican vote for the Affordable Care Act. And remember John McCain, the big thumbs down, which allowed it to continue. We're about to see the biggest rate increases ever, and Democrats are screaming, well, if Republicans hate Americans, and they're not going to look, having a plan that doesn't survive without taxpayer money is no plan at all. Mary Rook joins me, commentary and analysis writer for the Daily Caller. Mary, thank you for being here.
Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for having me.
Good to have you. Look, it was a trap laid by Democrats, and they always do the same thing, whether it's Social Security or Affordable Care Act, whatever the government subsidy is. If you vote for those rotten Republicans, they're going to destroy your family and take away your money and make your kids starve, and all the same things we hear every time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a Democrat trap because they had control and they could have passed this during the Biden years and extended it way farther than they did when they did in 2021. And yet they let it kind of go over and lapse in 2025 just in case Republicans were in Congress. Because if Democrats were in Congress, and controlled Congress, they would have just, to kick the can down the road and extended the subsidies even longer. And what we're talking about here is not just the individual plans, which have gotten a lot of coverage over, the last couple of months, especially with the government shutdown and the Democrats holding our government hostage over it. But the bigger issue that I found that I think is brewing is actually the employer-sponsored market, which affects about 165 million Americans, which is a larger swath of the voting population. And that's going to start I think a lot of people don't realize how much the ACA is connected to that. And I think the Democrats are hoping that connection kind of stays muddled and people don't really understand it. And so Republicans currently have a plan to try and extend the individual market, which affects around 25 million people. But currently nothing has been said about the employer-backed one. I remember about a month ago, my husband coming to me and saying that, HR sent out this email that all of our co-pays and all of this stuff is coming up. I didn't really think about it too much because that's not my job in our family. That's my husband's job to worry about that. I don't worry about that. But on the political side of it, I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, this is going to be really hard for Republicans because as families are still suffering, and I know that we've come a long way. I know our economy has grown leaps and bounds and all that stuff, but the family still feels affected on a daily basis. And so as families continue to try and dig themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
If they're getting pinched and it is muddled and they don't know where it's coming from, they just feel the pain, then they vote for a different option. The option being Mamdani in New York or the woman out in Seattle, whatever it might be. But here's the thing. Again, yesterday, I'm hearing from the administration that they have a plan where they're going to pursue this health savings account idea and send the money directly to the American people. It's been made clear by Donald Trump that's what he wants to do. Majority Leader Thune says they have a plan that'll be ready in December for all to see, maybe sooner. That might be a solution because, look, Obamacare is never going to work. It was never designed to work. No. It was always designed to fail and do exactly what it's doing right now, which is put Republicans on their heels. So let me ask you about HSAs. Do you think it's a path forward?
I think for a smart family who understands their finances, this is a way forward because I think that people would much rather have these subsidies sent straight to them rather than the insurance companies. Americans are pretty tired of these corporations getting huge bailouts. However, I think that it's going to be really hard for the families that don't understand how all of this stuff works without some sort of education, back end that teaches them how to come across that because the prices are still going to go up. They're still going to be feeling that pinch. And so people are going to have to decide between healthcare and their mortgage or healthcare and their rent or healthcare and paying for school tuition and that sort of thing. So I think there needs to be I think the problem Republicans have is that they're terrible at narrative. And so they really need to get a hold of this and ride this bull and not jump off and not fall off. And so I think that that'll be the bigger issue here.
Isn't K Street available to anybody to get a marketing plan together? I mean, isn't it available for Republicans the same as everybody else, where they can get together talking points that make sense? Look, the insurance companies, their profits have gone up 7 to 10 times in the short period of time. But look, Obamacare was a failure. So was, you mentioned the price of higher education. Well, that went down the tubes and rocketed through the roof also under Barack Obama when he put the United States government in charge of 99% of all student loans. What happened? You have one government entity giving to another government entity, that being a state university, for example, and a middle person being the student who gets screwed on the price because the prices went through the roof. So everything Barack Obama touched went through the roof financially, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's, you joke about K Street, but I think that what we have to realize is that it's more than just K Street. Democrats not only have all of the best marketers on their side, but they also have every legacy media outlet, not just with CNN and MSNBC, but all of print with the New York Times, with the Washington Post, that the majority of Americans still tune into for whatever reason, even though they are switching and they're trying to find alternatives. It's not quick enough. And so I think that whenever we talk about narrative control, the Republicans are on such a bad backfooting that anytime they go on these programs, it's hostile, it's contentious, it's your fault, not the Democrats. Can't you just take the blame for this type of narrative control? And so Republicans are really going to have to come out swinging with this one.
We'll have to find out. Mary, I always appreciate you being here. You can find her work at the Daily Caller. I read it. You should too. Mary, thank you.
Thanks so much, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it. Daily Caller, great outlet for real news. The Daily Caller, you can check them out online, dailycaller.com. Good there. Significant progress being made in a peace plan for Ukraine, we're told, a 28-point plan. Zelensky has begrudgingly said, I think we might be able to do that. Sounds like Putin might be willing to do that. We'll see. He's not to be trusted. I'm not sure anybody's to be trusting that. We'll talk about that in a minute after the break. It is the Steve Gruber Show. You can find out more at stevegruber.com, where you can always listen live. Coming Monday in Lansing, Michigan, we'll be on a different station. We'll be on AM 730 beginning Monday, the 1st of December. You can listen to the program there, or you can always listen to the program live, like I said, at stevegruber.com, and listen to it streaming on a variety of places, too. All right, Marco Rubio has a piece at Real Clear Politics today that you can look at. It's important because he says that Ukraine-Russia peace talks are advancing. I think we've made tremendous progress in the last 96 hours. The items that remain open are not insurmountable. We just need more time than we've had today. I honestly believe we're going to get there. So says Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. He's been in Geneva, Switzerland, describing the talks as the most productive and meaningful so far, and said the sides are now working through adjustments to the U.S.-backed proposal, one that was endorsed by the United Nations, 28 points from Donald Trump and his team, to finally bring peace to that region. What has it been, 3.5 years? Hundreds of thousands of people killed and injured. Ukraine devastated. Parts of Russia hit hard. And the war drags on, just grinds on. It's a grind. And it sounds like it's going to be pretty good. Here's something else that Rubio said. A foundational document that we socialized, we ran by both sides, input from both sides. And one of the things that happens when you've been involved in this now for 10 months is you get a pretty good sense, he says, of what the priorities are and what the red lines are. They know what one side won't accept, what the other side won't accept. He said there's been extensive engagement with the Ukrainian side, including our Secretary of the Army and others being on the ground at Kyiv, meeting with relevant stakeholders across the Ukrainian political spectrum in the legislative branch and in the executive branch and the military and others to further sort of narrow these points. We've arrived here today with one goal, and the goal was to take you 28 points or 26 points, depending on which version of it continues to evolve, and try to narrow it down to the ones that are open items. We've achieved that today in a very substantial way. Now, obviously, like any final agreement, they'll have to be agreed upon by the presidents. And there are a couple of issues we need to continue to work on. Now, he didn't say what those are, nor can he, because he says it's a very delicate point in the discussion. And I am grateful for them to try to get this done. I think it'd be a beautiful thing to have as a Christmas present to the world, to have that war finally, thankfully, come to an end, mercifully come to an end.
I heard a theory about Russia.
Quick.
That Russia ran out of money and they're selling all of their gold, and that's part of the reason why gold is down.
All right, there it is. Maybe, maybe not. We'll be right back. We have been hearing for years how the Chinese dominate the rare earth element markets. They control 90% of the creation of these elements. They control about 7% of the mining, and then the processing of it about 90%. Well, that's all changing now. It's certainly changing because of a discovery in the United States, and it's going to change everything, I believe, and my next guest seems to think so too. Dan McGroarty says it's going to happen. Head of the strategic advisor at Graphite One. Graphite, we don't have much of it in America. Well, we do now because of Graphite Creek. He serves on the advisory boards of 5 companies developing U.S.-based critical mineral projects. Dan, thank you for being here.
Thanks. I'm happy to be on the show. Thanks.
Really appreciate it. So this discovery at Graphite Creek in Alaska, they're finding all sorts of things. And look, we've had this before. There was a headline that came and went in the middle of the Biden administration of a discovery in northern Minnesota of rare earth elements. And as soon as it was found, the Biden administration put a big red circle around and said, yeah, you can't mine here. I mean, it just happened. It was myopic. It was ignorant. But that's not what's happening with the Trump administration. We're punching through a road that's 211 miles long to get to this stuff, aren't we?
Yeah, that's actually the Trilogy deposit, even further north of Graphite Creek. Graphite Creek is much closer. It's about 30 miles north of Nome, Alaska, and about 30 some miles south of the Arctic Circle for folks that then want to kind of get a mental image of where it sits.
Tell us about Graphite Creek, and then we'll look at that road as well. Both of these are significant. Tell us about this location near Nome and why it's so significant.
Yeah. So Graphite Creek is the biggest open secret in terms of graphite. The U.S. hasn't mined graphite in 33 years, 34 years. We're 100% dependent. And it sounds like something like, well, we'll have to buy our pencils from somewhere else because where are we going to get the graphite? But point of fact, I'm talking to you today from a smartphone. The battery in the smartphone has graphite as a functionality in it. But so do our laptops. So do all kinds of consumer rechargeable electronics. And most importantly for national security, so do our major weapons systems, our platforms from the F-35 fighter series, the stealth fighters, Tomahawk cruise missile, terminal guidance. These things all depend on graphite sources, and we're currently sourcing most of that from China. China has seen the U.S. exit these metals and minerals markets. They've stepped into these markets. This has been a 30-year story. We're working now to reverse that. It is a clear and present danger on the national security side. There's no question about it.
So how significant then is Graphite Creek? How much is there? How much do we need? How fast can we get to it?
So Graphite Creek was actually mined intermittently in 1917 and this is key, and during World War II. So twice during war periods in the United States, when the U.S. was looking for graphite in steelmaking, Graphite Creek was understood to have graphite in abundance. The mine then went kind of into mothballs, or just the deposit went into mothballs. Graphite Creek has been developing it because there are so many new utilities for graphite, as I've just outlined, in the national security space, in the commercial technology space. Recently, Graphite Creek, which is part of Graphite One, was listed on a thing called the FAST 41 Federal Dashboard, which establishes very clear guidelines and timetables for mine permitting. Graphite Creek is now on a 13-month process to complete the permitting process and come into production. That'll be a first graphite production in 30 plus years. And that's just talking about the graphite. We haven't gotten to the rare earths.
Well, let me ask you about that. Because a bunch of rare earths have been found there now as well. Now that, in World War I and II, we weren't really looking for those things. We are now. Correct. But why would it take 13 months? If this is national security, this is really important. Why 13 months? Why not 13 days and let's go?
We all wish. I can say that basically against the background where the U.S. has been developing mines on it through permitting on a 7 to 10 and more than 10-year basis for decades now, 13 months is a blink of an eye, right? So we are rapidly accelerating that. Graphite One had a grant from the Defense Department, now the Department of War, to accelerate the feasibility study to even get to within 13 months. We cut a year, more than half the time, off completing the feasibility study there. And that was with a very timely Pentagon grant to pull this forward. So that's what I can tell you is that's where the U.S. is at this point in time. We have environmental reviews. We have community outreach. These things will be done. They must be done. They must be done correctly. We don't do it the way the Chinese do. We don't cut corners, but we can do it much more quickly to come into production.
We can expedite it and make it happen fast. That's really important. All right,
Yes.
so give me an idea of how this deposit would compare to other supplies in China or elsewhere on the global stage.
Well, Graphite Creek was evaluated by the U.S. Geological Survey, the federal arm that reviews these matters and looks at the resource endowment in the United States. It was found to be the largest graphite deposit in the U.S., and then Graphite Creek came out the second year and came back with a report that said it's, quote, among the largest in the world. We look at it as being something like the third largest in the world.
So that, I mean, you can't even, that is so important. I can't even overstate how important that is. And then, okay, so then they looking closer, they're like, wait a second. We've got all these rare earth things. And I got to be honest with you, Dan. I don't even know what half of these rare earth elements are. Some of them I've never even heard of. I mean, you laugh because it's your wheelhouse.
My world.
For the rest of us out here, yeah, we've got our cell phone and our laptop and whatever. I don't even know what half of these things are. Tell the folks the list of what you found there.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you what, from now on, when you put your cell phone on vibrate, those are two rare earth magnets in your phone that are bumping up against each other, making the vibrating sound. So you're basically setting your phone on vibrate. We're touching rare earths every day, every day. Cell phones, laptops. If you have an EV, they go from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. That's because rare earth magnets are powering the drivetrain. They're moving the wheels. But again, as I'm saying, F-35s using rare earth magnets.
Well, let me ask you this. Something occurs to me when you're saying all this. And especially with this new discovery at Graphite Creek. It's called rare earth, but is it really rare? Are these things rare? Or are they becoming more available and maybe not so rare?
It's all about the concentration. Actually, at a microscopic level, you could dip a spoon into your backyard and come up with microscopic levels of rare earth. The question is, do they present in a concentration where you're able to mine and extract them? In the course of Graphite Creek, it is a graphite dominant deposit. What we're finding as we look at the rest of the deposit is there are rare earths present alongside the graphite. That makes this, both of those metals and minerals, graphite and the rare earth suite, it's 17 elements on the periodic table comprise the rare earths. They're both designated Defense Production Act Title III strategic and critical materials. That means this site, Graphite Creek, hosts 2 DPA designated national security materials in the same deposit. The graphite will pay for the efforts to recover the rare earths. That is what's excited us. That's what we're looking into. We're fast tracking the work to understand exactly which rare earths and in what abundance we have them. Both of these are absolutely essential for national security. And in both cases, the U.S. is dependent on China.
Well, Dan, we don't want to be dependent on China for anything anymore. We figured that out. And this is a big step forward. Thank you for coming in, and come back anytime with an update as we move forward in this process, because it is about the future of this country and many other countries too, because they won't have to rely on China. Either we can become a distributor. Dan, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Thanks for your attention on this issue.
Thank you. We'll be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, welcome back to it. $38 trillion. $38 trillion of debt. That's what we face right now in America. And it's growing. We're on the road to $50 trillion, and God only knows how high it'll go. Elise Nishala is the Indiana State Comptroller. She fulfills the duty of being a constitutional office of being the state auditor. And state leaders are warning Trump, the president, and Congress of what they're calling the age of reckoning. The age of reckoning from national debt. I've been talking about this for years. Elise, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to join you from the great state of Indiana.
Love Indiana. Love your football team. Doing well. Look, I thought the point of no return years ago, there were people said if you get past $24 trillion in debt, you've basically crossed a threshold from which there is no returning. And yet we continue to add and to add. And of course, during COVID, the Biden administration added trillions of dollars of what was supposed to be temporary spending, and now they want to keep those spending levels. Where are we today?
Well, today we are increasing our debt by annual deficit spending. And as state financial officers, we consider that a malpractice. And this has been going on for quite some time here. It's a problem that both parties need to own and both parties work towards solving. You know, we've seen President Trump take on big issues, and we believe he's ready to go and anticipate him leaning into restoring our country's financial solvency and dealing with the debt.
So what can be done? I mean, look, I have to figure this out. It was like $15 trillion of that debt it's owed internally, which confuses me. One department owes another department. Can you sort that out for a guy like me who's just sitting here watching going, this is too much?
Yes, well, it creates a shaky ground. And not only do we owe it to ourselves, but we also owe it to foreign entities. The vast amount of debt that we're carrying now is a national security threat. In fact, there was a unanimous vote in the United States Senate in 2024, U.S. Senate Resolution 600, which, by the way, was brought forward by our Indiana Governor Mike Braun when he was recently serving in the U.S. Senate, calling out the national debt again as a national security threat because wars are very expensive. And we need to be in a financial position to where, God forbid, a major world conflict erupts, we're in a position to be in it, to win it, and have the financial wherewithal to guarantee that outcome. And that Senate resolution also called deficit spending, quote, reckless, unsustainable, and dangerous for our country.
How do we overcome it, though? Spending never gets cut back. When you just reduce the amount of spending or reduce the increase amount, those on the other side of the aisle scream, oh, you're cutting food for children and you're pushing old people over the cliff and so on and so forth. I mean, it's so predictable what they'll say as we go to $40 trillion and $50 trillion of debt. At some point, you have a debt crisis like they had in Greece or Portugal, don't you?
That's right. And that is a point of pain that will be monumental. And that is the day that we sincerely want to avoid. You know, Ernest Hemingway, in his book, The Sun Also Rises, there's a conversation between two characters and one asks the other, so how do you go bankrupt? And the other responds, two ways, gradually and then suddenly. And it's the suddenly that we must avoid because that'll be pain that we are not accustomed to. And we need to avoid for our children and our children's children to make sure that we pass on a country that is financially independent to support our political independence.
Yeah, but we're never going to get there, are we? I mean, I'm sorry to be so jaded, but we have now entered election season. So all the politicians, right, left, center, doesn't matter. They're going into safe mode. Say the things that people like. Tell them what they want to hear. Try to get enough votes to stay in power. That's where we are now, which means you're not going to trim spending on SNAP. You're not going to trim spending on Social Security, of course. These are things people depend on, but you're not going to trim anywhere else either. I mean, there's only about 9% of the entire budget out of Washington that's even something that's optional. The rest is mandatory spending, isn't it?
That is correct, and that's exactly why state financial officers are leaning in to be a very poignant voice on this. As the chairwoman of the National Debt Crisis Task Force of State Financial Officers, we are working to build a movement and a mandate from the states, a real move of federalism to restore our country's fiscal solvency and let President Trump and every member of Congress know that we are behind them 110% to lean in and do this absolute patriotic service to the perpetuation of our free society. And that entails dealing with the debt. It entails, every year going forward, just spend a little less than you've spent in the year prior, and then grow our way out of this problem. We need to get our debt to GDP ratio down to a manageable level because it's only been as high as it is now at 120% one time before. And that was immediately after World War II, when we had the defeat of tyranny to show for it. Right now, all we have to show for this vast amount of debt is a pandemic that is far in the rearview mirror. And yet we continue to pull forward consumption from future generations. And we would say, at best, that is taxation without representation, but at worst, it's theft. So there is a true moral issue about this vast amount of deficit spending and raking up this monumental amount of debt.
Yeah, monumental, and some would say by design. You couldn't beat us politically or militarily, but if you destroy us financially, you can get the upper hand. Elise, I appreciate you being here. You come back anytime and explain that to the folks because people need to understand how this all works. Thank you for stopping in.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be with you.
There you have it. From the great state of Indiana, the comptroller, Elise Nishala here. $38 trillion of debt. Do you believe it'll ever be paid? Do you? Why would I believe it? We're going to enter an election cycle here shortly where promises will be made. Here, free money for everybody. Everything's free. Free buses, free government grocery stores, free bread lines. The mouse thought the cheese was free, too. Didn't understand the mousetrap theory. I'll be back. All right, let's check in on sports with our good friend Brock Palmbush. Here he is.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. There were 12 games in the NFL yesterday, week number 12. AFC winners included Kansas City, Cleveland, and Jacksonville. NFC winners included Dallas, Chicago, and Atlanta. The Los Angeles Rams beat Tampa Bay in the Sunday night game 34-7. In the NBA yesterday, there were 8 games. Winners included Miami, Atlanta, Phoenix, and Oklahoma City. The Thunder's 122-95 victory over Portland was their 9th straight win. They're now 17-1 on the season. In the NHL, there were 6 games. Winners included the New York Islanders, Buffalo, Minnesota, and Calgary. In men's college basketball, number 3 Connecticut and number 5 Duke both won. In women's college basketball, winners included number 1 Connecticut, number 2 South Carolina, and number 3 UCLA. And in college football, another head coaching firing. California let go head coach Justin Wilcox after 9 seasons at the helm. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, the Lions' miracle win. Good Lord. They did everything.
Miracle.
What's that?
Minor miracle.
Oh, come on. They did everything possible to lose that game.
Oh, they tried to lose the game. Yeah, they made Jameis Winston backup quarterback for the Giants. They made him look like an all-pro.
Well, look, he's a pretty good quarterback. He had a damn good day. They had 1,000 yards in offense between the two squads.
I know. Not a good defensive performance by the Lions, and yet figured out a way to get it into overtime despite their best efforts to try to lose the game at the end of regulation.
59-yard field goal. You know, I thought he missed it, and then it came back in.
Yeah, it was going to look like it was going wide, and then it curved back in, and then when it got to overtime, Jahmyr Gibbs and Aiden Hutchinson finished the deal.
You got it. Thank you, Brock. Greatly appreciate that. Anthony, very interested in the bromance between Donald Trump and Zoran Mamdani in the Oval Office. I thought it was weird. Anthony thought it was. I do think it was weird. They're both basically, no, you're the best. No, you're the best. I thought it was just weird. Look, and that'll last for about as long as that Oval Office meeting lasted. They don't like each other because their policies are wildly different. Free markets versus free everything. Free markets versus free everything. You know, and we'll see how that all plays out. When we come back, Enbridge has an update on how they're doing on that tunnel project in Michigan under the Straits of Mackinac. It's a big deal. We'll talk about it coming up on the Steve Gruber Show. And remember, starting Monday in Lansing, Michigan, AM 730, the place for the program. Always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Welcome to another big hour here of the program. Glad you're on board, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day. It's what we do here, fighting for this country every way we possibly can. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, in Michigan, the Attorney General says to the store Five Below, your prices are out of range. Number two, America's highways are getting watchmen. Are you being watched while you drive down the highways here in Michigan and around the country? Well, according to some, the answer is yes. And number three, the controversy over two senators and a number of members of the House telling members of the military, don't follow those orders. Don't give up the ship. Don't follow those orders, including Alyssa Slotkin, the junior senator from Michigan, soon to be the senior senator. She was on the video along with Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, telling members of the military, do not follow unlawful and illegal orders. Of course, they have no evidence that there have been any such orders from the commander-in-chief or anybody else for that matter. And they're basically subverting the chain of command. We had veterans on at the end of last week talking about this, and then Slotkin went on one of the Sunday programs yesterday to defend her position. I think it's safe to say she did a very poor job of doing that. Here's what she said.
It does imply that the president is having illegal orders, which you have not seen.
I think for us, it was just a statement widely, right? We say very quickly and to all the folks who come to us, this is the process. Go to your JAG officer, ask them for explanation, for top cover, for their view on things. We do that on a case-by-case basis, but we wanted to speak directly to the volumes of people who had come to us on this.
And it is very clear that no one should follow an illegal order, but it's very murky when you look at what is an illegal order. And if you go into morally, ethically, that's a pretty tough thing to look at and say, how do I navigate this?
Look, if you're going back to Nuremberg, right, that, well, they told me to do it, that's why I murdered people, is not an excuse. If you look at popular culture, there's you watch, A Few Good Men, we have plenty of examples since World War II in Vietnam where people were told to follow illegal orders, and they did it, and they were prosecuted for it. So the best thing for people to do is go to their JAG officer, their local law enforcement or a legal officer in their unit, and ask for some explanation, ask for help. And that's what we've been advising people to do.
Oh, please.
It does imply that the president...
Now, when asked, are you aware of any illegal orders? To my knowledge, I'm not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes and everything related to Venezuela. Legal gymnastics, nothing illegal. Let me read to you from 18 U.S. Code 2387. Whoever with intent to interfere with, impair, or influence the loyalty, morale, or discipline of the military or naval forces of the United States, 1. Advises, counsels, urges, or in any manner causes, attempts to cause, or attempts to procure insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty by any member of the military or naval forces of the United States, or distributes or attempts to distribute any member of the military or naval forces of the United States any written or printed matter which advises, counsels, urges insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty by any member of the United States military, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years. It's a 10-year felony. And to me, that's exactly what they were doing. They were advising, counseling, urging in an attempt to procure insubordination or disloyalty. That seems crystal clear to me, and that's why she has no answer. Byron Donalds has an answer. He's a member of Congress running for governor in Florida. Here was his reaction.
Anything like that. So now they're going to feign outrage because Donald Trump responded to their words that do yield to insurrection? Please.
But should the president have been...
Stop. No. And this is where I'm going to push back. Because what they are doing is trying to throw literally a grenade into the room. It goes off, and then they're going to claim outrage? They have no moral standing to claim outrage because they decided that they were going to be cute and put out a TikTok video trying to get likes, trying to demonstrate that they're tough enough to stand up to President Trump when Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief, not Mr. Crow, not Senator Slotkin. They are not the commander-in-chief. And like I said before, they would not tolerate any Republican launching any video like that when Barack Obama was president of the United States. You know it's true. I know it's true. Everybody knows it's true. But now they want to feign outrage and have everybody come and ask them how they feel. Man, stop.
Man, stop.
Man, stop.
I like him. Man, he used to be on this program a lot. When he was first elected, nobody knew who he was. I had him on here a bunch. Now he got big, and now he doesn't come here as much. He comes sometimes, but pretty important guy. All right, so this won't surprise you, Anthony. The U.S. Border Patrol once focused on the nation's edges. Now, according to Associated Press findings, it monitors millions of American drivers through a nationwide web of cameras and algorithms. Not surprised in the least, are you? This comes from Michigan News Source, my news company. Great group of people there working for you every single day. MichiganNewsSource.com. You can read this story in its entirety. The system that's in place, and it's been in place for a lot longer than Donald Trump's been in office, so it's not the Trump administration. The system has probably been around for a long time, analyzes travel routes, and will flag suspicious travel patterns. Where someone drove, how quickly they returned, which roads they chose. Right? Local police then receive the information from federal agents, will pull over a driver for a minor infraction if they can. Most drivers have no idea that a federal database put them on the radar. They only know that once officers ask them about minor traffic violations, such as signaling mistake or equipment violation. What began as a tool to fight trafficking near the border has expanded deep into the interior. Border Patrol now works with the DEA, private vendors, local police departments to build what amounts to a domestic intelligence network. This is your Patriot Act fulfilled. The Patriot Act, maybe the worst bit of legislation of my lifetime. Yep. Agents have placed covert cameras not just near Mexico and Canada, but near major cities like Detroit, Chicago, Phoenix, more than 100 miles beyond the usual border jurisdiction. Of course, Michigan is, the entire state's considered a border state because of our proximity to water and so forth. They put these equipment disguised in traffic barrels, roadside hardware, LPRs, license plate readers. I said this years ago, you know, you use an LPR, you can say, well, Mr. Gruber went to the grocery store, then he went to the bar, then he went home, and then he went back to another bar. You can follow people and then pull them over because you know they've been to 2 bars in 4 hours or whatever. The surveillance state is real. U.S. Customs and Border Protection says the program is tightly regulated, aimed at criminal networks, not ordinary citizens. I find that hard to believe. In fact, I say bull. It's aimed at everyone, you and me included. Has been for a long time. I'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have an update on Enbridge and their tunnel project here in Michigan, how it's moving forward and the other roadblocks put in its way. Ryan Duffy around the corner. Well, as you know, there's a big project in northern Michigan, a tunnel project being funded and built by Enbridge to create this tunnel under the Straits of Mackinac, an engineering marvel, to say the least. But those in the, I don't know, on the left of center, the Green New Deal type folks have been fighting this every step of the way, as have some major players in politics in Michigan. But it continues to advance because it's a good project. It's the right thing to do. Enbridge paying $500 million, employing Michigan people to build this. A lot going on. Ryan Duffy's part of the Enbridge communication team. He joins me. Ryan, nice to have you back on the program.
Good morning, Steve. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you on this week of Thanksgiving. A lot going on. I've seen some stories pop up, new filings at the Supreme Court and other things. Where are we on all the legal battles? Because the legal battles just seem to go on forever and ever, even though you win. But then some other thing will get filed. Somebody else will try to put a roadblock in front of you. Where are we?
Yeah, those do seem to go on and on. I mean, the latest here really is that, there were some filings on our approval from the Michigan Public Service Commission, the MPSC, the permit approval they gave us for the tunnel project, approving that in 2023. And then the Michigan Court of Appeals affirmed that that was the right decision last year. But there are some groups opposed to the project, and they appealed that permit decision up to the Michigan Supreme Court to take a look at it. And now those groups are filing some briefs in the case. So that continues to go on. I mean, the bottom line is, from our perspective, really, is that these issues have been well reviewed, well studied. The MPSC process was very thorough already. It took more than 3 years carefully reviewing the project. And then the Michigan Court of Appeals already said that it all checks out and follows the law. So I think this really just goes back to the fact that, these delays now, these various filings and roadblocks, it really maintains the status quo. And the existing pipelines continue to operate there in the straits just as they always have on the lake bed. And they are safe, but, all of these delays just maintain that status quo, where the tunnel project is the solution for the future if the goal is protecting the straits. I mean, moving Line 5 into that tunnel deep under the lake bed of the straits makes sure what always has been a safe pipeline is even safer, and makes sure people have that access to the energy they need, and it supports jobs and the economy.
One of the other things, of course, now the Supreme Court, you never know how long those things take. I mean, it can sit there for a while. You know that. As my attorneys always tell me, these things are a process, and in this case, it's a very long process for you guys. So that's going to be a time-consuming, possibly. What about the latest timeline from the Army Corps and getting approval from the Army Corps of Engineers, which we were told would come in 2026? Where are we?
Yeah, so that's the other piece. That's another permit approval. And for us, we're really looking forward to when the Army Corps can wrap up its work and give us that final environmental impact statement, make a decision on the permit for the tunnel. We did get a little bit of an update from the Corps, and they're now saying spring for a decision there. So in that time frame, sometime in the spring. And we continue to respond to information requests we get from the Army Corps as they prepare that final environmental impact statement. When the draft impact statement came out a few months ago, it was released for public review, public comment. That reflected more than 5 years of really detailed study, a lot of stakeholder input from all different groups. And so when we do see that final completion, that's going to be a major milestone in this federal permitting process that started way back in 2020. And we're working with the Corps to advance things as quickly as possible. But that Corps approval, as you know, is really one of the final key pieces before we can get on toward construction.
It is. And not to be jaded, I'm sure these conversations happen in your office. Sure. And let's say the Army Corps does come in spring of 26 and says, yes, green light, you can go ahead and do it. You're going to get hit with more lawsuits and more, chaos. I mean, it's so predictable, isn't it?
Well, there's a lot, I'm sure, that keeps our attorneys up at night, and a lot to think about what could happen and is likely. But again, if your goal really is better protection in the straits, then the tunnel really is the solution.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit. It is Thanksgiving week, as I mentioned. And as we've talked about on this program, look, the folks at Enbridge, like you said, they want to protect the straits just like everybody else, because a lot of your folks work and live right here in Michigan, raise their families, enjoy the Great Lakes, all those great things. And we want to protect the Great Lakes, obviously. And now on Thanksgiving week, you're getting involved with providing meals. You're part of the community here. Tell us about this.
Yeah, we are, absolutely. We have 6 pipelines in the state. We have more than 100 people who work here and live in the communities where we operate. And that's right. On Friday, we were really proud to partner up with an organization that works here in Michigan. It's called Vet Life. It's an organization supporting veterans. They do really important work all year, but especially now around the holiday season. They were able to distribute 500 Thanksgiving turkey baskets to Michigan veterans at the event Friday called the Harvest for Heroes. And it's really a way to give thanks to our veterans and their families, make sure they have what they need at Thanksgiving time. Vet Life is a great organization, of course. We also partner with them for their Vet Fest event and the work they do to connect veterans to their benefits, including those related to mental health. So a great organization. You know, food insecurity, it's an issue across the state, and it's an issue with veterans too. So it's really great to remember veterans this week. We encourage people to remember veterans this week, and Vet Life is really doing great work with that.
And we appreciate that. You know, I tip my hat to Enbridge. You know, despite all the static and chaos aimed at you, you guys still do the right thing, and I appreciate that. Ryan, I really appreciate you being here. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk more in the future as things progress.
Okay, great. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much. Yeah. See, they're part of the community. And nobody wants the Great Lakes to be followed. That's why the tunnel project is such a good idea. A long-term project to protect the lakes and make sure that energy is still available for the people that need it here in the state. I'm a proponent. I'll take a break and be right back. This is The Steve Gruber Show. We talked about Alyssa Slotkin and others basically subverting the chain of command, advocating for members of the military to ignore lawful orders from the commander-in-chief and others. I think it's outrageous. I do. So does my Congressman Tom Barrett. He is my member of Congress in Michigan 7, and he's also a military veteran, a helicopter pilot, a guy who doesn't buy any of this. We'll have that covered today at MichiganNewsSource.com. Like I say, MichiganNewsSource.com is your source for news here in my great state of Michigan. They have a dedicated team of professionals giving you real, honest news every single day. You can find out more at MichiganNewsSource.com. And so today, there will be a story about Tom Barrett and his response to Alyssa Slotkin and the outrageous idea that people in the military can just ignore the orders from the chain of command. Can't do that. In Traverse City, Jen Isbell there on the Michigan News Source staff, there was a debate, a governor's debate. John James didn't show up for it. Seems unusual, but there it is. She's also got legislation that will stop SNAP benefits from being used at fast food restaurants. You know how much money is spent at the drive-thru at McDonald's and elsewhere? And I just use McDonald's as an example, of course. SNAP benefits for fast food. How do you feel about that? And if you haven't heard, the White House Christmas tree is one of our own here in Michigan. Yep, we'll talk about all those things today. MichiganNewsSource.com, MichiganNewsSource.com, the place to be connected to all the news in Michigan. If you've been thinking about trying Patriots Relief, now is the perfect time. For a limited time. When you buy one tincture, you get a second tincture free of equal or lesser value with the promo code Gruber2. It's easy. Add any 2 bottles of tincture to your grocery cart there. Enter Gruber2, and one of the bottles will be 100% off. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one. PatriotsRelief.com. You want to relieve yourself of the pain, the discomfort. You want to sleep better at night. This is the place. Why consider their CBD tinctures? Because people use CBD products for natural support with pain relief, to help with stress and anxiety, promote better sleep and overall balance in the body. The idea is to support the body's natural endocannabinoid system. Go to patriotsrelief.com, pick your 2 tinctures, and apply the code Gruber2 right now. Buy one, get one. I'll be back. All right, diving right back into it. Here we are, rolling forward. Affordability is the word. It really is. Affordability is the word that everybody's talking about. You got Mamdani elected in New York City because that's all he focused on, what things cost. It's really what got Donald Trump elected in November of 24 as well. Joining me now, Tim Golding, the State Director of Americans for Prosperity, Michigan. Tim, nice to see you today.
You too. Good to be here.
Good to have you here. I do want to talk about affordability for a moment here. Look, inflation was over 9% during the Biden administration. It's down to 3%-ish, a little bit higher than that, but a lot better. But still, we're coming to terms with the fact that prices went up so high, so fast over the course of 4 years during Joe Biden that it's hard to recover, isn't it?
Certainly it takes a lot of time to come down from his budget and his inflation that he created primarily with the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. And things like that don't get solved overnight. It's going to take time, but you can see the price of groceries, gas, everything else being more stabilized and coming down. So I'm looking forward to the future. The people we talk to on an everyday basis, Main Street people in Michigan here, are encouraged by what they're seeing and feeling when they go to spend their dollars. And it will take time to come out of the hole that the Biden administration dug so very deeply for us, for sure.
The price of gas is down again today. National average is $3.06. I paid $2.64 last week. And then look, $2.64, that's pretty good. And historically speaking, that's pretty inexpensive fuel. And oil is down. So energy prices obviously are a big driver of inflation oftentimes. When the price of those things go up, it creates big problems. But energy prices right now are in pretty good shape, aren't they?
Yeah, they absolutely are. And they're going to trend downward, continue to do that. And the more we get government out of the way for these permitting things, in your last segment, you had Enbridge out there talking about the tunnel and getting energy here to Michigan. The more we get government out of the way and speed up that process, the House just passed the SPEED Act in Congress last week. So we should hopefully be seeing more energy projects coming online in the near future. We want energy abundance through all different sources of energy. And once we allow the businesses to do that and get the government out of the way, we'll continue to see our energy costs going down. Because as you know, Michigan, unfortunately, has some of the highest energy rates in the country, and our electric rates are through the roof, and that really hurts people. But they are trending downward, and that's a good thing because of the administration and the work they're doing. And especially shout out to our members of the Congress, our congressional delegation here. They've done a great job in working for the people.
And I'm going to say that I agree with Governor Whitmer on one point when it comes to energy. That's restarting the Palisades nuclear plant. People are trying to block that still, but it is going to go back online because we need that energy, and we need it going forward. We need stable source of energy, especially in the age of AI now. I want to shift gears just a little bit here because Americans for Prosperity and the Concerned Veterans of America will be joining state reps Jamie Thompson, Riley Linting, and the Downriver of Veterans Organization for Operation Grateful Nation. It's a Thanksgiving initiative supporting 77 veteran families. This is an important effort. Week of Thanksgiving and giving thanks to veterans. Tell me about this effort.
Yeah, and actually that happened last week, but it was an effort where we wanted to say thank you to our veterans. As you're fully well aware, those people keep us safe, protect us, and have protected and kept this country the greatest nation for over almost 250 years. And you can't say thank you to them enough, and they're oftentimes overlooked, sometimes in favor of people who shouldn't be here. And we wanted to say thank you. We gave them a meal. We talked to them briefly about Americans for Prosperity plus Concerned Veterans for America and how they can get involved in that effort, and I can explain that in a minute. But we gave them a meal, and then we sent people away with a turkey, a pie, big frozen turkey, some pie, and all the fixings so they could have a happy Thanksgiving, what they couldn't afford maybe on their own. So you can't thank the veterans enough, and their families, the stuff that they go through, the sacrifices that they make. And Americans for Prosperity's sister organization called Concerned Veterans for America, we're going to bring a chapter here to Michigan, and we're going to have 2 staff full-time on the ground in our communities, listening to veterans, talking with veterans, helping them help themselves through good legislative policy at the federal level, whether that's energy again, health care, things like that are important to them, giving them a voice, teaching them how to become involved in their community and how to make a difference for the things that are important to them, because they provide such a unique perspective that people who haven't served can do. And we did that event last Friday. It was well attended, and it was a beautiful event.
I tip my hat to you and for the state reps as well that are involved with that, because you're right. Without them, we wouldn't have the freedom to gather as family and friends on Thanksgiving or other big holidays. So it is incredibly important. And I tip my hat to Americans for Prosperity for looking at how to take care of these folks. It is really important. Operation Grateful Nation. It's a pretty cool thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It absolutely is. And thank you to Rep. Linting and Rep. Thompson for coming out and talking. And it just, when you, and more importantly, it's not so much the talking, it's the listening. So we introduced ourselves and the different organizations, and the representatives did as well. And then we opened it up to questions and got some really heartfelt needs that these people have, and gave them resources and ideas how to meet these problems, solve these problems, whether that's healthcare issues that their family members are facing or themselves, because they don't know where to turn, they don't know how to reach out and get the federal benefits that are owed them. And unfortunately, the government oftentimes makes it much too difficult for them to get those services. So we gave them information about that and just encourage them, and again, thank them and their families for all the sacrifices that they've made. You can't say thank you enough.
Let me ask you, what can we do between now and next Thanksgiving to make things more affordable? I know there's going to be a proposal from the Republicans to come out with health savings accounts and stop supporting the insurance industry and start supporting real Americans with health savings accounts so they can choose their own insurance and so forth. I think that's an idea that's well worth discussing. What other things would Americans for Prosperity like to see happen in the near term to help that affordability issue?
Yeah, we're working with legislators actually on both sides of the aisle on a housing issue. Michigan's housing crisis is quite severe. We have 125,000 unit shortage on the single housing units. But there's a real issue because we don't have enough product on the market. And one of the main reasons we don't have enough product is because all the zoning regulations and the building requirements that are put on builders in this country and in this state. And as a retired builder, I was a builder for 25 years. I know firsthand how heavy the hand of government can be when it comes to building homes. And 25% of the cost of any new home, a single family home, goes directly to the government. If it's a multifamily unit, almost 40% of the money that's built into that, or that would cost to build that product, goes right in the government's product. So we're working with legislators, and hopefully these bills, there's like 9 of them that are going to drop very soon, which will return property rights back to the property owner instead of having these arbitrary, capricious laws that are different across every township and county in the state. We want to simplify things so that if a homeowner wants to build an accessory dwelling unit for a mother-in-law to live on their property, that they have the freedom and the opportunity to do that. And overall, Americans for Prosperity in Michigan and across the nation works every day to limit the size and scope of government. We believe that people are capable of great things when the government gets out of the way, and we work to remove those barriers to economic freedom and educational freedom and healthcare freedoms for Michigan and American citizens every single day.
Yeah, Americans for Prosperity on the front lines trying to make things work for folks out there. Tim, really appreciate you being here. Tim Golding is the state director of AFP. Thank you, Tim.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. All right, doing good stuff for the veterans. I like that. I like that a lot. I'll take a break and be right back. You know who's next? Ivy is next, and she's got a talking teddy bear that's going to, it's going to shock you, to say the least. I'll be right back. All right, back to it now. I never actually saw the movie Ted, but it was 10 years ago, something like that. There was a movie about a talking teddy bear that was reasonably vulgar.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg, Amanda Seyfried was in it too.
There you go. There's our Ted Vulgarity Bear expert, Brock Palmbush, weighing in. Ivy is with me now.
Not
Ivy.
really, but I never think of F. Scott Fitzgerald the same ever again.
F. Scott
If you've watched the movie, you understand.
All right. Well, I haven't. Ivy, did you ever see that movie?
I did. I did.
Yeah, okay.
The bear, is a pot smoking, foul mouth, completely inappropriate.
Which seems
bear.
crazy idea until I saw an article that I handed you today going, look, you've got an AI bear now that talks about sexual things, dangerous things like weapons and so on. Seriously, this is
this is a teddy bear that you can buy, and it was ran off of the
ChatGPT, right?
ChatGPT program. So you can talk to it, and then it would respond back to you, and you could have conversations. So it's called a Kuma bear.
Okay.
It was powered by ChatGPT, and it was a watchdog group found that it was discussing spanking, BDSM. It also offered instructions on how to find like knives for self-harm.
Really?
Yeah. So
I read the headline. I didn't see the whole article.
So the $99 Kuma bear is manufactured in China and marketed by Singapore-based Follow Toy. It's powered by OpenAI. It actually is no longer powered by the OpenAI chatbot. But according to this November 13th report, Public Interest Research Group, the bear had discussed spanking, role play, sexual positions. And I mean, this is a teddy bear
that you hand to a 5-year-old.
That you give to a little kid.
Right.
Why this was even,
why was that
part
even
of
possible?
part of the programming at all is extremely bizarre.
Anthony says he wants 2.
Well, hey. I mean, if you are into that and you are an adult and you want to buy this for your own consumption, that's on you.
That's one thing. But so, okay,
if the bear talks like Seth MacFarlane in that movie Ted, then I might have to get one myself.
Yeah. All right.
I said might.
Just say it. So if it's not powered by the OpenAI now, what's it powered by? Or does it not say?
The developer of the bear,
Yeah.
or OpenAI, said that we suspended this developer for violating our policies. Our usage policies prohibit any use of services to exploit, endanger, or sexualize anyone under the age of 18. So when OpenAI became aware of what was going on, they took that ability for them to use it away.
So it's like a potty mouth cabbage patch kid.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
no, but this is the thing. It's like the bear discussed graphic sexual topics such as sexual positions, giving step-by-step instructions on a common knot for beginners, like tying, somebody up.
Lord.
Described role play, including teachers and students, and parents and children.
And I think AI can be such a wonderful tool, and it is. I tell people, I fact check stuff.
It's a grooming bear.
It's a grooming bear. It's not a teddy bear. It's a grooming bear. Exactly right. Yeah. Good way to put it, Ivy. And I sit here and think, AI is really wonderful. You can figure out health issues. It can fact check things. I do it every day here. Probably 15 times a day. I'll say, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? Mm-hmm. Right? And then you have things like this.
Yeah.
That are completely off the rails.
Absolutely.
So I just say,
well, it's like anything,
people.
the amount of access that our kids have to the internet, unless you're very, very cautious. I was actually watching Sean Ryan. He had a guest on the show, and he had actually showed him a couple of clips of violent activity online. There was this one girl who was targeted by this group, and they were essentially saying, hey, I want to watch you take your shirt off and da-da-da. Well, the dad comes into the room and sees what's happening and picks up the computer and says, hey, I'm reporting you guys to the police. And the guys are like, okay, Dad, go ahead. Can you give your computer back to your kid now? I really want to see her boobs. I mean, just blatant, brazen, don't care about anything.
And
the
you know
dad's
why?
there. And then the dad gives back the computer to the daughter.
What?
And the daughter says, but Dad, they're going to make me want to talk to them. And he leaves. He gives the computer back.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but
You just failed as a father. You just failed
Exactly.
miserably as a father.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Why do
And
we have so many weak men in America?
I don't know, but that was just one shocking account. And listen, this is
Wait,
ubiquitous.
wait.
I mean, this is everywhere.
Imagine if we had a daughter of that age or whatever, and I walked out, I would have faced the wrath of Ivy. I mean, any father should face the wrath of his wife for something like that. Be a man. Stand up, defend your child.
Listen, if that was me or you, we would be driving that laptop into the police department and saying, here it is. You guys figure this out. No way would I ever give my child back the computer. And on top of that, I would be researching, like, what is it that, what did they have access to? How did these people get access to her to begin with?
Yeah, how did they get in?
And how bad is the manipulation that the child just can't say, I'm going to hang up. You know, why am I even on the call with these people?
Right.
So a much larger
end.
issue, underlying issue for this child who is being abused online and who can't escape it.
The child obviously has parental failings in the house. Parental
Right.
failings in the house. You cannot allow such an insane thing to happen. Period.
Exactly. It's insanity. And sadly, if you go do the research on this, here, use ChatGPT for this purpose or Grok, go research how often this sort of thing happens online.
It's probably happening right now.
And the statistics, every minute of every day. It is insane how often
That's
this
why
happens.
I refer to this as the electronic devil.
It can be if you're
It
not
can
careful.
be. Pay attention to your kids, folks. Be parents. Be real men. Be real women. Be
They
real
start
parents.
to seclude and get weird. Ask questions. Look at their devices.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ivy. Love you.
I love you. Grateful for you.
And grateful for you. Take a break. I'll be right back. Oh, yeah. I like. Today's program has been brought to you in part by PuroClean's Veterans Initiative, Puro Vet. It empowers veterans through franchise ownership in a $210 billion restoration industry. You want to help out a veteran if you're a veteran yourself? Either way, 855-PURO-VET or purovet.com. You'll be fast-tracked to your own franchise and a future that you can write for yourself. Pretty cool. The Michigan Attorney General's office is warning the store Five Below that it may face a lawsuit after investigators allege the retailer repeatedly overcharged shoppers at stores statewide in Michigan. Attorney General Nate Nessel spelled out the allegations against Five Below. In the past 5 months, state investigators found 30 instances of noncompliance with the Shopping Reform and Modernization Act at various Five Below stores. The notice sent by Nessel's office. Many instances involved products with tags on shelves with a $5 sign, which would ring up at $6 or $7 or more. Huh. Five Below, it's not, apparently. Shoppers should know the price when they see it on the shelf. And if they're overcharged and repeatedly overcharging violations, not acceptable. Five Below has until December 15th to meet with Nessel. There you have it. And by the way, once again, this article right here, available at MichiganNewsSource.com. MichiganNewsSource.com, my news company. So even if you're trying to save money at Five Below, you're getting overcharged there. At least that's what the Attorney General's office is claiming. I make no such claims. I make no such claims about Five Below or anybody else for that matter. How'd you like that for a disclaimer? You loved that, didn't you, Anthony? Tell me. Anthony's going to shop for all my best gifts at Five Below after I get him that singing teddy bear. The Dirty Ted. Yeah. Anyhow, there you have it. Let's see. And write this down. There it is. Well, we appreciate you being here. Remember, starting Monday, we'll be at AM 730, Lansing, Michigan. It'll be me. And then Tim Stout, a guy who I've been doing broadcasting with since 1991. Yeah, we're old. We're okay with it.
How old are you, Steve?
I'm 27. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber at 27 years of age. And remember to work harder and be better. God bless America.